Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for our February 2026 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny, and in these monthly update shows, we'll be talking about what we've been listening to, playing, reading, and/or watching, and probably also some general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at A Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Benissimo Art.
Just a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for the patron-only live stream version of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any patrons watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Geek Saga Entertainment, and we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're listening to this recording, once it's gone public as a podcast, keep in mind that we do record these approximately 2 to 2.5 weeks prior to their public release. And also, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch our State of the Saga episodes live and get access to our show notes, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to these episodes, video recordings, and all podcast versions of all episodes, among some other fun content. You can check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all that out of the way, we're going to get into our discussion. We're going to kick this month's episode off with news and/or general gossip.
Hate to start on a low note. We have so much other good stuff to talk about. So just gonna get this out of the way. I'm gonna say R.I.P. James Vanderbeek. I had to say something about it. I was never a Dawson's Creek person. I honestly think I've watched a total of 3 to 5 episodes of the show ever. But it was so huge for our generation. For sure, my generation. You're not that much older than me. But you might have been just older enough that it came out at a time where you were like, that's teenager shit. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. But there was a lot of people that were within my same age range that were watching that show.
Yeah. So. I mean, and also the actor himself, James Vanderbeek, was young. I mean, he's barely older than either of us. He was 48. So I don't know.
He's my age. Yeah, he's my age.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you were still 46. You're 46 forever in my mind. You. I have no idea why.
Let's work on getting that number a little lower. All right.
Well, I don't even think, the thing is, I don't even think you look 46. I think what it is that at some point you told me you were 46 and you were just forever 46. Probably when we started podcasting or very soon after, you said something about being 46 and that has just stuck in my mind. And I know you've had birthdays since then, but you're just forever 46 in my mind. So listen, I wouldn't complain about it. I'm not even saying you look that. I only think that because at one point you told me and now it's just forever 46.
Yep.
Jen should make you a shirt that just says that.
Yeah, forever 46.
Oh my God. Actually, honestly, I think maybe we just need Geek Saga shirts that
I think
forever
so.
46.
Yes.
Forever 21.
Totally do that. Exactly. Forever 46.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'm sorry. We got off on a silly tangent, but also, like I said, cancer sucks. I'm not sure what to think about the GoFundMe that was set up for his family. So at first, when I read about it, I was like, wow, crazy that even a well-known celebrity's family has to do a freaking GoFundMe so his wife can keep their house and educate their kids after his passing. But then I read that they also just bought a really expensive, millions of dollars home last year, well after he was diagnosed. And I'm seeing mixed things about why insurance didn't cover portions of, or maybe even much at all, if any, of his treatments. All I'm going to say beyond that, I'm not going to get into any feeling, because I honestly don't know I literally do not know how to feel about them having to set up, or not even having to necessarily, either having to set up a GoFundMe or just setting one up, period. It wasn't his family that did it, or it wasn't his wife that did it. I think it was friends, but I don't know how I feel about it. But what I will say is I've seen a lot of people sharing stuff about it, and it's oh, and then listen, our healthcare system fucking sucks. right? Like it
Mhm.
fucking sucks. Like you and I are both 1000% behind that. It's terrible.
Yep.
Literally anybody in this country, especially anybody who's working full time,
Mhm.
who is able to work full time or even part time, having to set up GoFundMe's for healthcare costs is insane. It should
Mhm.
not be happening, et cetera, et cetera. But all that said, for anybody who is sharing stuff about their GoFundMe with this whole like, oh, it's crazy that a celebrity has it, all I'm going to say is like, I highly suggest everyone do their own research and form their own opinions about it rather than blindly sharing pro or anti views regarding their GoFundMe. That's it.
Yeah, agreed.
That's it.
Agreed.
The other thing I had, or one of the other things I had last month, I talked so much about there not being more Stranger Things.
Mhm.
And while this is not technically more Stranger Things, I did see that they are going to be filming the Broadway Stranger Things play and releasing it on Netflix, supposedly, hopefully,
Interesting.
maybe, which I honestly I'm happy about that because New York City is fucking expensive. As far as I know, New York City is the only place that's been playing. Maybe it's been playing elsewhere, but if it has to still only be in major cities. New York City is the only one I've actually heard about it playing in. Broadway shows are insanely expensive. Even if they're showing it elsewhere, my God, I for one ticket that was like a good seat at a show last year, I'm sorry, not last year, end of 2024, I spent like $180. It was my birthday present to myself to go see Six on Broadway. Yeah, I don't know. They did a lot of stuff apparently in that show that adds to the lore. So then you have to look at the fact that this play, whether it's only in New York City or it's in New York City and maybe some other major cities, but regardless, it's probably in those traveling theaters. And those are still expensive, not Broadway expensive, they're still expensive. I don't know. So making that accessible to such a small percentage of fans of the show was like a dumb idea, if you ask me. I completely support theater and all, but it was a weird flex. And I'm hoping they really actually do film it and put it out on Netflix. Like Disney did with Hamilton, which was amazing.
Yeah, it would be cool for just to make it more accessible to people who can't just fly out to New York and watch a play, so.
And then the last thing I had was I had no idea that Nicolas Cage was doing a live action Spider Noir show with Amazon. Did you know about this? I didn't. I somehow missed this entirely, and I feel like a bad fan about it, but Dean was shocked that I didn't know about it. I'm not anti this. I love the idea of a Spider-Man Noir show. I'm not sure how much I feel about Nick Cage as the voice of Spider Noir in the animated movies is like one thing. Him being like the live character, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, I did actually hear about it, and I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably the first Marvel thing that is more up my alley because it's no secret to people who know me that I am a huge slut for anything noir. Okay, dude.
Yeah.
You put some black and white and some heavy shadows and just put, some of that noir jazz in the background, and believe me, dude, my pants are wet at this point, like I'm totally
believe you me.
Believe you me, man. Like that is literally it. And then on top of it, yes, it's Nick Cage, right? But hear me out on this. The age of the younger superheroes is done for me. I can't relate to Peter Parker. Peter Parker's coming out of high school, but now you have Spider Noir. He's an older guy. He's probably a little rough around the edges. He's a little jaded, from society and stuff, which is where more I would fit in. So to get to see that is like, oh man, that's fucking cool. And look, and it's Nick Cage, and I know Nick Cage is kooky and all that kind of stuff, but I think he can pull it off. I love the setting of it. It's like in the 30s. I love the concept of it. I love that. I always like it when they bring the voice actors to play the actual roles, right? Because that's always been a big problem with a lot of this stuff, because they'll make a live action something, they don't bring the actual, and there's going to always be that disconnect. So the fact that they're doing that is great. In Star Wars, the Mandalorian. First season was amazing. Second season was really good. Third season, honestly, was kind of garbage, honestly, and I hated it. But the fact that they had Bo-Katan played by Katie Sackhoff, who did the voice in Clone Wars, I totally appreciated that. I was like, that is fucking great that they're doing that, because it really kind of merge. It makes it more believable, I guess, when they're merging those universes, and just as they probably would for the people who have watched Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that, and then they're going to get to like see this for real. It's going to like really make it real for them.
My thoughts on Spider Noir and the age has nothing to do with it. I'm just like, I'm not sure about Nick Cage. I don't dislike Nicolas Cage, but like you said, he is kooky, and he was great in, I don't remember the name, but that Dracula movie that also had Nicholas Hoult in it. He was great in that. I'm not saying Nick Cage can't do things, but kooky is the right word to describe him. And that's why
He's
I'm a little
kooky,
bit hesitant about him in particular. In terms of Spider-Noir being like an older guy and everything, no, that's fucking great. If only they did that with women as much as they did it with men in terms of actors, just say.
Yes, absolutely. And they should do that. But I'm right there with your concerns because it is kind of, it's Nick Cage, you know, there is a part of me that's not going to get past that where it's like, but I am hopeful for it. But I don't know, like, look, I'm just going to be honest here. Marvel has set the bar so low for me at this point. I mean, really, just like if Marvel showed up and did 12 seasons of them showing up to my door and giving me like a cafecito or something, like I would be like, damn, this is the best show ever, because they really just, I don't know.
What about you? Newsy stuff, anything?
Yes. So Newsy season, one of my favorite anime series is an anime series called Ghost in the Shell. Everyone's heard about it at this point because,
especially after the Scarlett Johansson stuff.
After the Scarlett Johansson stuff. But now that you mentioned that, let me just do a little sub rant here for a minute here, okay? Scarlett Johansson, now I know I'm going to get crucified with this. She was the perfect casting for that role. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if half of those people who complained about it, because they were saying, oh, they're whitewashing the movie. If you're saying that, you did not read the original comic. The original comic, the body that she was in was actually of Russian descent, or like a Russian body. The point of it was that identity had to do with the spirit and not with the outward appearance. So if you were one of those people complaining about whitewashing, then believe me, you missed the entire fucking point and move on. Scarlett Johansson had the voice. She had the look. Was the movie good? Not really. There was a lot of things they could have done better, I felt. But in all honesty, the casting of the movie was not incorrect. I will say that. I will die on that hill when it comes to that because I'm a huge fan of it and I have no problem taking a crap on it when there's something I don't like about it. So anyways, that was my rant on that. That was a rant that I've always been like, I've been holding in for, since 2017 or, when they made that movie, because there was so much back and forth about the casting. Oh my gosh, they're whitewashing it. Like, dude, if you say that, you completely missed the point of Ghost in the Shell to begin with. Anyways, they are now going to reboot Ghost in the Shell for like the 5th time at this point because it's been rebooted. That anime series has been rebooted probably more than any other anime series that I've ever watched in my life. And this one is going to be more direct with the comic. So it seems like they're actually redoing the comic, but just in anime form. All the other Ghost in the Shells that are out there either take place right after the comic or they're kind of in a different universe as the comic. It doesn't follow along to like same things. So on this one, what they're going to do is they're going to just pretty much redo the comic. Even the anime looks the same. I think it's going to be good. I'm going to miss like the voice actors if they're not going to use the same voice actors because they've been the same voice actors since 1995 at this point. So it's going to stink to not hear them. But they did change the voices for Ghost in the Shell Arise, and it actually wasn't bad. It was actually really good. So we'll just have to see. In the end, it's for me, it's kind of a moot point because the standalone complex series was definitely my favorite out of all of the iterations. The 1995 movie looked great and it was awesome, but when it stands with the standalone complex series, it's really kind of subpar compared to what that anime series did. The anime series was actually dealt more with their personalities and stuff, which is very prevalent in the comic. They did good with it. How they're going to do this one, I don't know, but it's going to be nice to see it on the screen again. And it's going to be based around the comic, which is going to be interesting because the people are going to see the characters in a much different light than what they're probably accustomed to for anybody who's watched Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is kind of, it's almost like niche at this point. A lot of anime people haven't watched it. It's a little too like geopolitical. It's way too espionage-y. It's so a lot of people don't get into it because people think anime, they want, they want Dragon Ball Z and like all this kind of stuff. However, I'm definitely excited to see how it's going to go with that one.
Anything else, or should we move on to Reddit story?
Let's go to the Reddit story.
Okay, so we have just one Reddit story. It's a shorter one too. So normally with a shorter one, I would try to have us do 2, but with us doing back-to-back recordings tonight, for those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, we are still playing catch up from me having to take like over a week off because eyeball stuff. So yeah, the Super Bowl was just over a week ago. If I hadn't been in this situation health-wise, we would have probably recorded this sooner. It would have been a tiny bit more timely, but whatever. The Super Bowl was just over a week ago. So I figured this particular Reddit story was still sort of timely as we're doing this for our patrons. By the time it is a podcast, it's like several weeks after the Super Bowl, but it is what it is. This story is titled, "My girlfriend found out that I lied about me and my friends playing fantasy football, and I know I screwed up big time. This is from the Best of Redditor Updates subreddit. It was posted in September of last year, September 2025. Original post. I know it was wrong to lie to my girlfriend, and I probably should have just told her the truth. I lied because I didn't want to hurt her or upset her, but I realized it was still a lie. I'm already just like facepalm, facepalm, facepalm. I've been playing fantasy football with some friends for years. We are all big sports fans, but football is the biggest. Last season, one of the guys dropped out of our fantasy league because he said it was taking up too much of his time and he was afraid it was pushing him into a gambling problem. We needed another player, and my girlfriend watches football, so we asked her to play. I know I'm going to catch heat for saying this, but it wasn't as fun playing with her as I thought it would be. I don't know if it was beginner's luck or what, but she pretty much destroyed the rest of us all season. It wasn't fun losing to her. So this season, we just decided to tell her we weren't playing this year. I didn't want to at first, but the other guys insisted. We invited the new brother-in-law of one of the other guys to play instead. I just told her everyone was too busy to play this year, and she didn't question it. On Thursday night, we slipped up and she found out we are still playing. She had to go to work, but she was pissed off. She's been frosty since she got home Friday morning. Next weekend, we are supposed to go to an out-of-state wedding. Her family isn't from Chicago. I guess they live in Chicago. But now she said she wants to go by herself. I tried to explain, but it just made her mad. It's nothing personal. No one hates her or anything. I know I'm going to catch heat in the comments. Every time I try to explain it, makes it worse. I screwed up and there's no way around it. But she's so upset and I don't know what to do to make it better. I know I fucked up. Over and over again. I know I'm going to catch heat. I know I'm going to catch heat. I know I'm going to. So why are you even posting this, my dude? Like, you know you did wrong. Yeah. What opinion are you looking for? Are you looking for the, maybe like two people who are going to be like, yeah, it sucks losing to a girl, man. It's fine that you blocked her from your fantasy football. My God. So just to touch on some of the original comments from this first post, everyone seemed to agree that OP messed up. One commenter said it wasn't even about him excluding her, but about him lying to her, though in my opinion, it's probably equally both. Let's be real. Lots of people calling OP out for going along with the guys, but also saying like, you keep trying to deflect what happened onto these other guys. Come on, man. Like this is not on them. This is on you. And then OP responding to these original comments, like, again, he just kept agreeing he messed up and he kept claiming he wasn't making excuses, but he also kept admitting, again, as he already did in the original post, that every time he tries to explain things, he makes things worse. My dude, bad circular logic here.
I got thoughts on this one.
Yeah, my girlfriend, it's like your girlfriend is better than you at a video game and you're like, I don't want to play with her anymore.
Yeah, dude, like, I'm sorry. This guy was just being a little bitch. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, dude, when you're playing games, you want to be with people who are much better than you because that's how you get better, okay? In life, you have to lose a lot and you have to surround yourself with really good people that are much better than you so you can do fucking good. And there is probably 10 other excuses he could have said to kind of write her off of the game and then they can keep playing, as opposed to how he handled this. Lying about it makes it even worse, because when the story started, I was like, okay, maybe he has a gambling problem, maybe something, but like, bro, your girlfriend was winning. Think about it this way, dude. Your girlfriend's really good at fantasy football, right? Like, she's just really fucking good. And she chose your dumbass to be with. Like, maybe you should just be fucking grateful, and be like, wow, she's really fucking smart, but she still chose me and I'm a fucking dumbass.
Or he's like, right. And sorry. It was beginner's luck. And you didn't even give her a second chance to show that it was just beginner's luck. She won.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, come on, dude. Don't be a little sore loser, man. Especially with your girlfriend, bro. You should be proud of that. You should be like, hell yeah, I just brought my girlfriend to this game and she fucking demoed us. Like, how fucking great is that?
And there's no ages in this. I have to imagine, like, they have to be young, honestly. I can't imagine this happening with like people in their 30s even. I'm guessing 20s, but there's no ages. Now, that said, this is Best of Redditor updates, so we do have an update. Over 2 months later, OP says, so it's over. I know I screwed up and the writing was on the wall. The worst part is that I have no excuses. Oh, really? Because you were giving a lot of them.
Yeah.
I know how badly I fucked this up. I'm not even looking for sympathy. When my girlfriend got back from the wedding, she asked me why I lied to her. I didn't have any answer for her. All my explanations just made it worse and didn't really explain anything. I tried to apologize, but she didn't want to hear it. Good for her. It was the worst week of my life. It was almost like she was freezing me out. At one point, she asked if we ever talked about her in the group chat for our fantasy league. I didn't even have to answer. She just said, it's not nice, right? And I think that was the turning point. I never want to see her cry. And the worst part is knowing I did this because I was stupid and didn't stand up to my friends. She said she doesn't think we're compatible and we shouldn't date anymore. She didn't want to accept my apologies, and I understand, and I won't bother her now. She went to stay with her family for another week, and now I've heard she came back to wherever they live because of her job, and now she's staying with friends. But I'll leave her alone. I'm looking for another place to live because our lease is up at the end of the month. She left 2 weeks ago and it feels empty. And the worst part is I know it's my fault. I barely care about watching football now. And normally I would be excited about it because my team is in first place. If you take anything away from my post, don't put your friends over the person you love. Learn to stand up to your friends. I learned my lesson after all of this.
So at least the guy in the end has some good advice to like drop down, because this has always been a point of contention with me with like other people. If you find a girl who loves you and you love her, I don't give a fuck how long you've been friends with fucking who, because in the end, they're not the ones who are going to spend the rest of their lives with you. They're not the ones who are going to be on your fucking deathbed with you. They're not going to fucking do that shit. Disrespect your fucking woman. And I don't give a shit if, oh, I've only been dating her for a fucking year and these friends have been with me for fucking 25 years. Fuck them. Stay with the fucking girl. I'm sorry. Dude.
No, I will say, and maybe this is the difference between men and their friends, not in all cases. Like, I hate to be hashtag not all men, because I definitely know some dudes in my life who are like BFFFFs, and they would be those people for each other. But like, I also know that I have femme friends who would be that person for me, and I would be that person for them. Absolutely. And I have been that person for some of my femme friends who didn't have a significant other or whatever. I would absolutely be on that level of like being there to the day they die if they need me because they don't have somebody else. But at the same time, it's not the same as
when you have a girlfriend that is super committed to you, or you're married, or just life fucking partners, they're always going to be there with you. We're always going to do things for our friends. I have friends that, yes, I will always do those things in the end, but because they have their life. And also on top of it, dude, if this guy's friends were really his fucking friends, they would have just dealt with it, you know, and been like, okay, why can't they do 2 fantasy football leagues? Why can't they just do that? Like, why couldn't they just do something else instead of alienating this thing? The girl left him. I think it's kind of dumb, but maybe it was more of like an underlying issue, you know, to like leave somebody over something like that. Because honestly, I don't think that anybody who is truly committed to each other are going to leave each other over something like that.
I will say this, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but the reason I am is because there are some comments, and I think you might have missed one of the points in his post. From the comments, there were a lot of people asking what they were saying about her in the private fantasy football group chat that she wasn't in, and OP never answered. So that turned into a lot of commenters speculating that it was like a bunch of misogynistic shit, because the line that is from his update post was, at one point she asked me if we ever talked about her in the group chat for our fantasy league. I didn't even have to answer. She just said, it's not nice, right? So they were talking shit about her too. Maybe him being like, I don't want to play fantasy football with you. For me, it would have been like because I was winning. Cool. Bye.
Yeah.
Loser. Like, I'm sorry, you can't take a girl like being quote unquote better than you at something, but like also it, like he said, it could have been pure luck if she'd never played fantasy. It literally could have been pure luck, and they still couldn't fucking deal with it. They couldn't deal with knowing whether or not it was pure luck. And then on top of that, they're talking shit about her, probably misogynistic bullshit in their group chat that she doesn't have access to.
And if the guy was there listening to that and not doing anything about it, then yes, I'm glad they broke up. Absolutely.
Exactly. And also there were a lot of people in the comments reiterating that he should have stopped making excuses and actually tried to make it right. My top comment choice was one that said, you're blaming your friends and not yourself. You haven't learned a damn thing. This is not your friend's fault. This is 100% on you.
Agreed.
And yeah. And again, also maybe things could have been worked out if it wasn't for this bit where she also asked, well, were you talking shit about me, essentially? And he didn't even answer. And also the OP never responded to all the comments that were saying like, well, what did you say in the group chat? There weren't that many comments on the update post. I opened them all up and I did a search for his username, and he never responded to anybody. You fucked up, dude. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, if you're going to be on a group chat and talk about your significant other in a terrible fucking way, then you guys need to then you're a piece of shit.
Yep. I mean, and listen, like, it's okay to have complaints about a significant other.
Totally fine.
And it's okay to talk to your friends about that to an extent. There are things that you should and should not say, but it's okay to vent when things are rough, because if you don't have anybody to vent to, especially in this country where therapy isn't exactly affordable, or included in like most people's insurance, I get like venting to your friends, but again, fuck around and find out.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to what have we been watching lately? What about you?
So we had a few snow days here last week.
A few. Last week and the week before.
And the week before. So Jen and I have been doing a rewatch of Stargate Universe. If you haven't heard of Stargate Universe, it really is just the morphine to like, it's the morphine to Battlestar Galactica's heroin is what it is. This show has so many more of the same vibes, the same themes. The show has really been forgotten and it really shouldn't have. It had a lot going on for it. I understand why it failed, because literally it's like not a Stargate.
I mean, failed did it though? Because how many Stargate shows were there and how long did all of them last? If you look at the whole, because I've never watched much of it. Dean and I actually did start watching the original Stargate show back when we were both in California. I mean, like a year or two ago. I didn't dislike it by any means, but it's definitely like it's of its own time sort of thing. But there were a lot of Stargate shows that lasted a lot of seasons. So
yeah,
we have a good friend who does a very popular Stargate webcast podcast, and Dean has worked for the Stargate people at Comic-Con a lot of years actually. And I think they're doing a new show.
They are. They have a new show. Yeah, it's coming out. It takes place in the same universe, which is great. Yep. I'm glad that's not like a reboot. Everybody likes to reboot things now.
But anyway, sorry, not to interrupt you, but I just saying that I wouldn't say it's a failure when there were so many different versions of it that lasted so long. That was my point.
Well, no, I kind of say that it's a failure because what it did was that it kind of abandoned its core audience. Right?
Oh, I see.
Because when you think of like Stargate Atlantis, Stargate SG-1, there's a campiness to it. And the thing is that with this show is that they bring some of those characters back in this show. And that's where you really see the problem, because it's like these characters are still campy. They're playing their characters from these other shows and it just doesn't mesh well. It definitely seems off because Stargate Universe is a very serious show. And then with the other ones, these characters are campy and stuff and it's just not. But if you watched Battlestar Galactica and you're missing that kind of thing and you want to see something different, I would highly recommend watching Stargate Universe. It clearly takes a lot of the same themes. It's a lot of stuff. It really is a Battlestar Galactica light, kind of. But it's a fantastic show, fantastic actors, fantastic delivery. Huge fan of it. I think the show came out back in like 2009. So it was, a lot of Battlestar peeps were all over it because we were dealing with, the withdrawals of the trauma from Battlestar. So we just wanted more of it. I feel like the show probably would have done a little better if it was more of a reboot instead of existing within the universe, in the Stargate universe, or just been its own thing. They would have just made this some kind of separate thing, then maybe it would have then people would have been able to separate the two and be like, oh, well, this is a different type of storytelling. It's a different type of thing, as opposed to it existing within the universe and within the same time frame of Stargate SG-1 and all that stuff. But I love it. And if you haven't checked it out, check it out for sure. Next I have was Pluribus. I finally finished that show. That show was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fucking great, dude. The whole concept of this show was completely disconcerting, and it becomes more so as the season progresses. There was a lot of dead zones in the season to where I feel like, okay, nothing is happening here. However, Rhea Seehorn, who plays Carol, is just peak here. I loved her as Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul, right? I loved her character. So to get to see her kind of doing her thing all over again, she's fantastic. 10 out of 10. I love seeing her on screen. She's always fucking great. Doesn't disappoint in any kind of way. The show is definitely a slow burn, but it kept me hooked because I just wanted to see what was going to happen next and what was going to happen. So yeah, they did really good with it. Had me hooked. I can't wait to see. It had a good ending. One of the best season ending liners that I was like, oh, okay, nice. Yeah. So I'm really curious to see where the show goes. I hope they don't milk it for too long. I hope it's one more season and that's it. If they do one more season, then it's going to be a perfect show, honestly. Yep. So that's what they need to do. That's my prayer for them, is just do one more season and forget about it.
Which is crazy because it's like, you'd think that with something so good, you'd want more, but I've watched so many miniseries over the past few years. And I feel like sometimes, not even sometimes, I feel like more often than not, the miniseries are better than like a show that goes on for 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, because the story, it's not condensed in a bad way. It's like they get shit done. And like, I agree. I don't know that this show really has any reason to go beyond 2 seasons. Maybe 3, but definitely not more more than that. And I agree that 2 would be, at this point, with the way they're going with it, I think 2 would be the perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
which I guess is still in
Yep.
a way a mini series, because there are mini series that have 2 seasons. So
Yep, agreed. All right, let's see. What else do I have? Oh, so I finally sat down to watch Tron Ares. So this is going to be an unpopular opinion from what I've read online, but I actually enjoyed it. I actually liked it. I'm a huge Tron fan, and I liked it. I feel like a lot of the themes they hit on were really on point, and they did not disregard the second film, which is what I thought they were going to do. They originally kind of proposed this film as a soft reboot, which I did not like. Because again, more fucking reboots. What I was hoping for was something that was like Blade Runner 2049 or whatever, right? Where it's like, it takes place in the same universe. It's not a reboot. It's just kind of a, hey, what's happening right now kind of thing. And they did a good job with this. I felt like the story was fine. The story wasn't like mind blowing or anything like that, you know, but it was extremely entertaining. I was definitely into it from start to finish. It felt like a Tron movie to me. And I watched the original film when it fucking came out. They actually paid more homage to the first film than the second film did.
I agree. I didn't love it. There were things I liked about it. I'm kind of on the that was the thing I watched. It was fine. It could have been a lot worse. If they'd had somebody other than Jared Leto in it, I probably would have felt, honestly, I think if they'd had someone other than him in that role, I probably would have had more positive feelings about it.
And I think that the movie would have been more mainstream and more big if they didn't have him. Because when you really look at his character and his acting in it, anybody could have done that part.
Yeah.
I could probably think of 20 other actors who could have done that part and made it more memorable.
Yep.
Honestly. And I'm not a Jared Leto fan.
Nope.
He's a cult leader, you know, like I'm not really into it. So he wasn't terrible in it or anything. It's not like he was like a bad actor in it, but you really could have picked anyone else to like actually do that. And I feel like having him in it just deterred a lot of people from watching the film to begin with. But that's all I have to say about that one. Now for the next one. Hear me out on this. Okay. Starfleet Academy.
Okay.
Here we go.
I've been seeing people who were not into the idea of this who have loved it so far. So I'm interested to hear your take.
I'll say this. If you like it, that's cool, man. Enjoy it. You know, I'm glad that they made something that you're into. For me, I honestly have hated Star Trek since they did Star Trek Into Darkness for like the 2012 film or whatever. Like, I've hated everything that has come out of Star Trek afterwards. And no one can say that I didn't give it a try, okay? Because I watched those movies. There was that one and the Star Trek Beyond or whatever, which was fucking horrendous, which to me didn't make any sense because the actors were fine. Everybody was good because I loved the 2009 J.J. Abrams film. I liked it. I was like, this is a lot of fun. It wasn't really like Star Trek, right? It was more explosives, more action, all stuff. But I had fun from start to finish. I thought it was a fantastic movie. And when they did the second one, I was like, okay. You guys are kind of, I don't know. And then the third one.
Which is funny because like a lot of Star Trek purists actually hated the J.J. Abrams stuff from the beginning. So
yeah,
like
I actually enjoyed it.
You went into it with an open heart and an open mind and enjoyed it.
And I did. And I really enjoyed it. I loved how they casted everybody. I thought everybody was casted really well. I thought it was great. And I was ready for an entire series of that. So anyways, Star Trek Discovery came around. And yeah, that was garbage to me personally. If you liked it, Boo Boo, that's okay. Enjoy it. I'm glad you liked it. That's awesome. Again, I didn't lose any money on it. I didn't make it. Those directors didn't come to my house and steal my wallet to make it. So it's like, I don't.
And you didn't pay for a Peacock Plus subscription to watch it.
And I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't finish it. I tried. I got halfway through Discovery. Didn't like it. Strange New Worlds came out and everybody's like, oh no, but it's like they're doing more exploration now. No, they didn't.
See, I like Strange New Worlds, but I'm not a Star Trek fan I'm not a Star Trek person.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like it was before when they introduced hipster Spock in fucking Discovery, I was like, fuck no. Like, please don't fucking do this, dude. Can we just be normal? Like, can we just have a normal Star Trek, right? And then they did Strange New Worlds, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a shot because there's no other Star Trek, and I'm jonesing at this point. So, because in my brain, I haven't seen a good Star Trek since the early 2000s or late 90s. So I'm like, let's just give it a shot. I tried Strange New Worlds. I got through the first few episodes, and I'm like, here we go again. It's just over budgeted. I don't fucking care. You're force feeding me fucking storylines instead of making me feel them. I was like, you know what? If you like it, cool. And again, this is nothing to do with like the actors or actresses who play their roles. I think they all do exactly exactly what they should be doing. And that's totally fine. It's great. And if you like it, go for it. Okay. So then they did like Section 31, that movie with Michelle Yeoh and stuff like that. Now you have to understand, because this is going to fall into where I'm going. I know I'm kind of dragging my feet on this entire conversation here. This is going to probably be the biggest rant you're going to hear me go on State of the Saga, maybe. So they did Section 31. So Section 31 was mentioned in Star Trek Into Darkness, right? The J.J. Abrams, or I think he did that one too. I don't know if there was another director who did it, but that one, right? So Section 31 was created from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and it was pretty much the equivalent of like a shadow type of organization that protected the Federation. So you would see this in Deep Space Nine with the Obsidian Order, which was the Cardassians, or the Tal Shiar, which was the Romulans, and then the Federation had its own, which was Section 31, and they did a lot of dirty things. They were the ones who tried to commit genocide on the changelings, all this kind of stuff to protect the Federation. So when they made their appearance in Into Darkness, it was cool to see, where I was like, okay, that makes sense. In that movie context, it made sense. They made the movie. I didn't watch the movie, honestly. I watched a lot of sum-ups of it, and it just seemed like garbage, and I was like, you know what, okay, this is the new face of Star Trek, and I'm just not feeling it. Anyways, I digress. So Starfleet Academy comes around. I watched the first episode. Let's just say it just wasn't for me. And let's face facts, maybe I would have been more malleable to watching something like that if the Orville didn't exist. Because the Orville came around, and they actually recaptured what it was like to watch Star Trek back in the 90s. Same type of lighting, same type, and you know what though? But they were over budgeted also. They had a big budget towards the end there, but they still made it look like I was watching a Star Trek show. Like, I don't understand how this guy got it right when actual Star Trek didn't. Maybe I would have been more malleable to it. But anyways, anything that is from that timeline, I just don't like. So I sat down to watch Starfleet Academy episode 5, because I watched like the first episode or two and I didn't feel it, and I was like, oh, this is just like whatever. Like, I can see the appeal of like, maybe if you're like a teenager, or you're into this kind of stuff or whatever. So in episode 5, they actually deal with the fate of Benjamin Sisko, who was the captain in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which, if anyone who's watched the show knows, that it ended kind of ambiguity to where it's like he goes to be with the prophets, right? Because throughout the entire series of the show, he's like the emissary of the prophets, and they're like, you know, whatever. So he winds up just vanishing. And the last episode ends with like, well, I'll be back one day. So now this show takes place, what, like 1,000 years later, or 900 years later, however the fucking long, whenever the fuck it was. He never came home. That pissed me off, because I was like, look, dude, like, number one, I was okay with them doing the Picard show and bringing it back and whatever. I wasn't crazy about it, but honestly, it wasn't the worst thing I watched. And it was cool to see them back in action, in particular in the 3rd season. I thought it was a good closure for that show. And it was nice to like see them again and doing their stuff. I was like, oh, cool. You know, I liked it. But the one thing I did not want this guy, whatever the guy is who does these new Star Treks, I did not want him to touch my baby. I was like, just don't touch Deep Space Nine. That's all I ask. Go fuck with Voyager. Go do something, or Enterprise. Go fuck with that shit. Do not touch fucking Deep Space Nine. And most people who watch Deep Space Nine will say the same fucking thing. Like, keep your hands off my fucking child. Okay? So they brought it back. I feel like they kind of fucked up that story to begin with. Now, I will say that they kind of left it open. So at least they didn't completely take a shit on it. However, I will say this. They did bring back as a hologram Sarah Lofton, who plays Jake, who's Benjamin Sisko's son. So they brought him as like a hologram. So getting to see him again, like the actor and like what he was talking about and stuff, that was actually done very well. I was like, this is good right here. And then the Cardassian lady who was trying to get this girl in her class or whatever turns out to be Dax, who was a character from Deep Space Nine, right? The Dax is just, you know, is a symbiont that travels from person to person in the Trill line or whatever, and they live forever or whatever the hell. That part I didn't care. I thought it was cool that it was the actress was the same person from Lower Decks. So it was cool that they brought her into it, because Lower Decks is great. If you do want to watch a good Star Trek, watch Lower Decks.
I agree. Yeah, I like Lower Decks.
Lower Decks is great. Like, they definitely do good with that. So yeah, I was just mad about it, I guess. Like, there were certain aspects of it that I was like, oh,
don't touch the baby.
Yeah, like, don't touch my baby, you know? But the fact that it had Sarah Lofton, and then it ended with a narration from Avery Brooks, who plays Benjamin Sisko at the end, right before the credit scene, which was really nice to hear. He didn't necessarily like come out of retirement to do it. They just kind of lifted it from one of his albums, because he does like music albums and stuff. But it was really cool to kind of like see and stuff. I just wish they would have just not touched it. I understand what they were trying to do. I think they were trying to like give it like an homage, you know, and like respect it, right? Because Deep Space Nine has always been the black sheep of Star Trek, because it was so dirty. It wasn't idealistic in any kind of way. So yeah, I think I'm just going to end my rant there. I didn't like that they touched my baby. I think there was things that they did that were, if that was the price I had to pay to to get to see Sarah Lofton come back as Jake, then that was the price.
For me, I got a bunch here, finished or continued watching from last month, or maybe I just like simply started and finished since we last recorded. I can't remember. Like, I know I talked about Emily in Paris last month. I think I had finished Emily in Paris before we recorded in January. Whatever. It was Emily in Paris. It's a stupid show. It's a stupid show with stupid people, but it's like one of those things. It's like a super guilty pleasure of like, I just want to see what dumb shit the show is going to do. And it continued to be exactly what I needed it to be. Season 2 of Percy Jackson on Disney Plus was fine. It was not as good as season 1. I will say, like, I've never read the books for this. I saw the first movie that they put out, like, I don't know, way back in it was post Harry Potter movies starting to come out. And the people who are fans of the Percy Jackson book did not like the Percy Jackson movies that came out back then. So I only saw the first one, but season 2, it wasn't as good as season 1, in my opinion, as a person who's watching it blind. But also, like, my younger stepson definitely has an effect on how I feel about it because he's always comparing it to the book. So he's like, this wasn't right and this wasn't right. And I'm like, okay, well, now I feel like I can't, I don't know. You know what I mean? When somebody's sitting there telling you this wasn't as good, even if you've never read the books, it's like, okay. But even if he hadn't said those things, I just felt like it wasn't as good as the first season. Fallout Season 2 wrapped up. I mentioned this last month. I feel like Season 2 raised more questions than it answered, but it was still super fun. All I can say is like, I don't want to wait God knows how long for Season 3 because actually I feel like they ended it even more possibly on a cliffhanger than they did Season 1. So yeah, I want more and I don't want to wait 2 years for it. Castle Rock, I also know I mentioned last month. That's another one where I honestly cannot remember if I had finished it before we recorded the January State of the Saga. It's a Stephen King story show. It's a mini series, quote unquote, 2 seasons though. It definitely did what it was supposed to do in 2 seasons. The second season was very different from the first season, but it did tie into the first season some and then tied into more of King's stories, especially like you don't know it so much through the second season of Castle Rock, but then at the very end, you're like, oh shit. So it's that. Okay. If anybody listening or watching is a Stephen King fan, I definitely suggest watching Castle Rock. That's all I'm going to say. Then I watched this Ryan Murphy show called Grotesquerie. It's got Niecy. All I can ever think about her is she's from Reno 911. And it's funny because in Reno 911 is what it is.
Yeah.
When you see the Reno 911 actors and other things, you're like, what the fuck? Niecy Nash, that's her name. Niecy Nash plays the main character. This show is a fucking mind trip. What frustrates me is that it got 1 season and it was canceled, and it definitely ended on like a little bit of a cliffhanger. But I mean, it was a cliffhanger, but like some things from it definitely got wrapped up. If you're a Ryan Murphy fan, he does American Horror Story stuff too. It is definitely worth a watch. And also, if you just like really gross horror type stuff and or mind trip shows, watch it because it's the only thing I can say about it. It's a fucking mind trip without spoiling anything. Things I restarted or started watching. Well, obviously Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, true.
I don't think I need to talk about this one because we do that enough in Duncan Eggshells.
That's why I didn't put it in there.
Yeah.
They should know by now.
Yeah. Primal. Have you ever heard of Primal? It's an animated show. It airs Sunday nights. It comes up on HBO on Monday mornings, but it's an animated show. The first 2 seasons have been out. This show is fucking amazing. Okay. The first 2 seasons of this show are fucking amazing. It's one of those things where it's like, if you have not watched this show, I don't know if I can say definitely watch the 3rd season yet, but I will say the first 2 seasons are fucking amazing. There's basically no dialogue in the first 2 seasons at all, but it is, I don't know, like ahead of its time. It's super different. It's so fucking good. And I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil anything. The 3rd season is interesting. I don't really understand what they're doing here. I don't know if I really love it. I feel like it could have ended with the 2nd season and been like a perfect show. And the 3rd season maybe is just like a tacked on, like, well, if you really want to watch something, then watch this. But yeah, I did love the first 2 seasons. So I do definitely suggest watching those. The Pit, also on HBO. This is a medical drama. I'm not a medical drama person. generally. The last medical drama I paid any attention to was House, and I watched the first like 2, maybe 3 seasons of it and then stopped. The Pit is amazing because it's very real and very real time real. It takes place in an emergency room in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So like a major city. I'm loving season 2 still, not surprisingly. So far, I'm not sure it's living up to the first season. We'll see what happens. I think I need to watch the entirety of this season, but so far, yeah, I don't feel like it's living up to the first season. But that said, it's still one of the best shows that exists right now, especially in terms of shows that are airing currently. High Potential, that was one I mentioned a couple months ago because it's one of those shows that's technically on like, I don't know what network it's on. Whatever network it's on is one that they air the episodes on Hulu the next day after they go live or whatever. But it had like that mid-season break. It's got Dee from It's Always Sunny in it. Continues to be good, but I feel like the second half of this season, which is I'm pretty sure season 2, is a lot slower than it used to be. For sure, a lot slower than season 1, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot slower than even the first half of season 2 was. So I'm like, I like it, but I actually think I'm like 1, maybe 2 episodes behind because I'm like not waiting for it every week. I also started watching The Beauty. I'm pretty sure it's an FX show. Also Ryan Murphy, Grotesquerie again, American Horror Story. Another fucking mind trip. This show is fucking weird. It's a little gross. It's not as mind trip as Grotesquerie, but it's like, oh, what the fuck am I watching? And again, I don't want to say too much about it because anything I say I feel like would spoil things, but like imagine that there was a drug that could turn you into one of the most beautiful people in the world, but then like it also could kill you sort of situation. It's weird and fucked up, and I don't know if I like it, but I also can't stop watching it. You have those shows, right? It's like, I don't know if I like this, but also I need to watch it.
You have to keep watching it. No, I get that completely.
Things I've watched because why not nothing else? So last month I mentioned I had started Penny Dreadful, rewatching Penny Dreadful, but it just became too dark for the shit I'm dealing with right now. And I also needed something that was more background noise. So I started rewatching The Nanny. You know what I'm talking about? The Nanny, right?
Yes.
She was working in a bridal shop in Flushing, Queens, till her boyfriend kicked her out of one of those crashing scenes.
Dude, when I was younger and that show came out, I had such a crush on Fran Drescher. I was like,
she's hot.
I was like, that's the kind of sass I want in my life.
She's still hot.
She's still hot.
It's like 25, 30 years later, and she's still fucking hot.
Yeah, I loved her. Yeah, absolutely. That was a good show. That was a good show.
It's just as funny and silly and great as I remember. And I feel like it's when you think of the top 5 shows that had the best slow burn, like Will They, Won't They? Maybe not slow burn even, but like Will They, Won't They? The Office, for sure. Jim and Pam. Was one of them. But like, if I'm going to talk about the number 1 top show that had the best, Will They, Won't They? But absolutely they will. You know they will eventually. Storyline. It is Fran and Maxwell Sheffield. I'm loving it. Like, it's a feel good show too, because like she's good. Like even when she fucks up, she's good. It has been making me just like, so like, oh, I needed a feel good, like fun show. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That show is great. It still holds good today.
Have you been reading anything?
No, hell no. Nothing that hasn't been work related. Haven't sat down to read anything in a while.
Reading or listening to things are basically the only things I could do for close to 2 weeks. Watching things basically like early on after my surgery, I really even couldn't, like I could wear my glasses, but I was still not getting used to things. And I also had to keep my head face down. The first couple of days, it was 45 minutes of every hour. And the next 3 days after that, it was like 30 minutes every hour. So you can't watch TV when you have to look down that much. So yeah, reading or listening to things, basically the only things I could do for a while. And even after that, it became a thing where I was like, I could look at the TV, but I could only do it for a certain amount of time without it causing me a headache until I got used to only having one eye to look through. So anyway, I blew through a lot of books. Now, I will say before I had the surgery, I read this book called The Bear and the Nightingale, which is sort of like historical fantasy. It's based in Russia. It's like real Russian history to a point, but there's also some like fantasy aspects to it. It was fine. It wasn't bad. It was just like nothing special in my opinion. And then I read read and I'm not giving these in order. I did read Murderbot Diaries 1 and 2, which I know I talked several months ago about watching season 1 of the Murderbot Diaries on Apple TV. Highly suggest. It's a great show. And also it's a great show compared to the book version of it as well. Fucking loved the books. Easy reads, really fun. Loved the show, loved the books. I also reread The Stand by Stephen King, which was like, I hadn't read it in way over a decade, and big oof on some things about it, because this was written originally in like 1978, and there's like a lot of language and shit that's like, oh God. Gotcha. I mean, even when I read it the first time, I was like, this is not up to date. But again, 1978, even though it was a reread, I like could not put it down. I mean, like literally, it took me less than a week to read over 1,000 pages, even though I also was like having to like stop reading for a while because of the strain on my singular eye that's working. I reread The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, which was one of my favorite. Like, I definitely think I've read it at least twice before. It was one of my favorite books when I first read it back in like the early 2000s, because it came out in like 97, and I think I read it in the early 2000s. It's the story of, I don't know, they pronounce it Dina, but I like have this thing in my head where like I cannot pronounce the name Dinah as anything other than Dinah, but it's pronounced Dina apparently. It's a biblical story, but it's a fictionalized version of the biblical story. And it is, I mean, will I say it's still one of my absolute favorite books? I've read a billion fucking books since then, so maybe not, but it is still a very well written book. I reread it within like 3 days. Very good. And then I just started reading Cell by Stephen King, because I found out it ties into The Dark Tower in that it's an apocalypse, like a post-apocalypse novel, but like there are some like minor Dark Tower tie-ins apparently. So I was like, I'll read this, because I just read The Stand, which I was like some pretty major Dark Tower tie-ins. So, and then audiobooks. So like I apparently chose the wrong book from a list of books called X's and O's, and it didn't matter in the end, because it was for like my local book club thing that we were supposed to meet in person the weekend we had the snowstorm, which was also the same exact day I had to have eye surgery, so I would never have been able to make the meeting anyway. But apparently there's like 8,000 books. I mean, I'm hyperbole, right? But there's like way too many books called X's and O's, and it's either X's and O's O''S or O's OHS. But I chose the wrong one, and I'm glad that the book club meeting ended up not happening anyway, even if I hadn't been able to make it, because like, I don't know, the book was awful. It's fucking awful. I don't mean to like shit on literally every book that's named X's and O's. I cannot and don't care about the name of the author for this one. It was so fucking bad. It was so bad. It was like, girl gets left at the altar, starts dating guy who is like wanting a trad wife with 6 kids. She's a child psychologist, and a child comes into her office, and it turns out that the child is the son of this guy's ex, and it's his son, and the ex-girlfriend never told him about it. And so then they break up because he's like, I hated this woman. I never wanted to be with her for the rest of my life, but I'm going to ask her to marry me anyway because she has my son. And this was written in like, it was written in like 2006 or something. So it's not like this was the 80s or the 70s. This was like, dude, what? I was like, God, what the fuck? But then I like had to keep listening to it, because I was like, it's like a train wreck. Like you can't stop watching.
You can't stop watching it. Yep.
So anyway,
Fucking
it was
terrible.
awful. It was awful. And then within the past few days, I started listening to this book called Rich Girl Nation, which is like sort of a feminist leaning book on finance that's geared toward women. It's very interesting because a lot of the things don't apply to me, but I'm into it. She has some good advice. Some of it I'm kind of like, girl, I mean, it's good for you that you were making $60,000 in 2020 or whatever, 2019, 2018, but like most people don't do that. It's called Rich Girl Nation. So like, I guess I can't really like judge it so much, but like definitely written by a privileged white woman. And listen, I get it. I am there, but your advice some of it might work for me to a point. I'm a little older, so not so much, but like a lot of it is kind of, she also recognizes that in what she's saying. So that is nice. She does recognize that she's coming from a point of privilege, but it's also like, I would not suggest this to, I don't know, my, good friend who is working a server job at a restaurant. They're going to listen to this and get pissed off. Anyway, what have you been playing?
Recently picked up playing the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, like the Super Nintendo version. I bought one of those Super Nintendo classics like a while ago and I haven't used it much. I picked it up and it was great, because it really reminded me of like how far we've come video game wise and how the entire video game industry is just a burning ship that is sinking to the bottom of the ocean right now. Because I feel like there's nothing interesting anymore. In all honesty, man, I thought it was because I had met Jen and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just focusing all my time on that. But nah, bro, I still like a fucking video game, dude. And when I look around and stuff, I'm like, there's just nothing fucking appealing anymore. And there's like all these games that come out that I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the magic, and maybe it's just me. Let's just chalk it up. Maybe it's just me, but I just feel like the magic of video games is just starting to die. Like we had some good games, even like some modern games, like obviously Red Dead Redemption, right? Like that is a fantastic game. Like that might be a game that I'm still going to be playing 40 years from now because I'm going to be like, oh, fucking, I don't like any of this other shit that's coming out. But
I will say, like, as much as I don't play as much anymore, Dean loves his Helldivers, and he's been playing Fallout 4, which he's also been really enjoying. But that's also Fallout 4 is like a 10-year-old game, 11-year-old game. So it's like
exactly, yeah, those games are gonna last forever. I feel like that era, that Red Dead Redemption 2, Fallout 4, like I feel like that's almost kind of like the last.
I would say like mid to late 20-aughts to like mid to late 2010s with Mass Effect, Fallout games, Red Dead, and also like GTAs. Also, the old GTAs are always good. The GTA 5 was good. I'm hoping GTA 6 will be great too, but
I'm sure it will. I mean, they've
but
always
also
done
like
a good job.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Rockstar does a great job on the games they put out every like 8 to 10 years. So you can't count on that.
It's just not like how it was back in the day, right? Because back in the day, it was like if you owned an Xbox, you were getting a certain games, and then if you were a PlayStation, like it doesn't matter anymore. And even with like the PS5, I bought the PS5 literally for Final Fantasy 16. That was the only reason. But again, not shitting on myself because literally, I think almost every console I've ever bought in my life has been because there was a Final Fantasy game coming out. After that, after I had played it, there were some other games that I played and stuff, and I'm like, cool, but I'm like, bro, I can still get away with just going to go spend $80 on a PS4 and keep playing Red Dead. There's nothing that's really dragging me into like this new concept, and even with like the Final Fantasy games that they're making now, like the remake of Final Fantasy 7, it's fine. I probably need to do my own podcast dedicated just to that remake because there's so many things that I absolutely adore about it, but then the foundation and the core of it is so fucked up and messed up to begin with because there's so many things that I absolutely feel, I don't know, it added so much better to the original. But when you take something like the story and you make some really foundational changes to it, that's a fucking problem. Okay, like, so I have a lot to say about that one. So when that third game comes out eventually and I spend the 70 hours playing it and finishing it, then I'm sure I'll have something to fucking say about it. Honestly, I don't understand how game consoles are still around at this point. Just because you can play everything on PC now, and it's like,
well, yeah,
but
I don't have a PC, so
yeah, no, well, I don't either.
Can you still do the where you splice the Mac so that you can play PC games? I had that years ago.
They have different things. Like they have like a one that's behind a paywall that they have now that actually apparently works really good. But I don't like doing the like streaming video game things like on there because they never work right. And maybe when the third part of Final Fantasy comes out, I'll do it so I don't have to spend another $500 because I sold my PlayStation 5. So it's like I don't want to spend another $500 getting one. Maybe I'll do something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I probably would have played like a little bit of Red Dead Online, very here and there if I hadn't, gone half fucking blind at the end of January. And yes, I still pretty much am. I can't even I don't want to play games because it's hard enough to like read the screen right now. Or so nothing playing for me. Listening, I've just been listening to a lot of Charlotte Dobre. I think her name, I don't know how to pronounce it. Dobre is her last name. She's a redheaded girl from Canada. She does Reddit story videos. And so I've been listening to a lot of her videos, a lot of Smosh Reddit story videos, listened to a few episodes of the Be There in 5 podcast, which I have mentioned before. And that's actually what turned me on to the Rich Girl Nation book, the audiobook that I'm listening to. But that's about it. I haven't listened to like music or anything because I haven't really had time. Or if I'm having to listen to something because I can't watch anything, I'm not going to listen to music. The couple days after my surgery, when I was having to literally like lay face down for like 45 minutes every hour, I would put on a podcast and then fall asleep halfway Have you been listening to anything?
I've been listening to a lot of classic Japanese and traditional Chinese music. As silly as it sounds, there's just a weird calming effect to it. And I always like to change it up month per month. I have a very eclectic music collection, but I definitely go through like patterns where I'm like, oh, this month is going to be traditional Mongolian music for the month, you know? Like I definitely do that a lot. But that's about it. I haven't really listened to anything else.
Well, upcoming events or anything you're excited about?
I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now. I'm kind of in a point of limbo. I got some things in the horizon that may be really good for me down the road. A lot of relocation stuff, which might be really fucking awesome. I'm almost ready to start beta testing this app that I've been working on for the past 2 months now, 3 months now. Fingers crossed that actually works. I keep breaking it every time I touch it. So at this point, it's like I needs to just kind of like I needed to get it into the hands of other people. And
is this like a work thing, or is this something that you would be releasing to the public?
This is a personal project. Yeah, this is something that would be.
Maybe it's something we could put out to our patrons.
Yeah, this is something that hopefully when I get there. But yeah, it's something that I've been working pretty relentless on. That's one of the reasons I haven't been doing art or anything like that, and been kind of doing this. You know, and God bless Jen that she'll sit there and we'll watch shows together, and she deals with me being on the couch behind my little computer for 5 hours at a time trying to work on this thing. But it should be interesting.
I'm honestly kind of excited to be done with weekly recording and editing for a bit after the next episode of the finale of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I love the show. I've loved our episodes. And honestly, they've been the easiest edits because they're so short. It does not take me hardly any time at all. It's great, but I'm ready to be done with the weekly editing for like a little while because it's hard right now.
Yeah, I believe it, of course.
With the eye. I'm blaming everything on my eye, my lack of eye. But I'm going to Disney World with my family in March. Awesome. We will absolutely have to record our March State of the Saga before I go, but still, I'm excited about it, even though I'm not going to be able to ride any roller coasters because, again, the fucking eye. I'm sad about it, but it could be worse. Like, it could be a situation where, like, God knows when I'll go to Disney again, but, like, I do have friends I can go visit a year from now or a little less, and it won't be a big deal. It's just, it sucks that I'm gonna have to sit it out this time because I was really excited and I was like saving up money for all like the lightning lane passes and shit so that I wouldn't have to wait in line. And so now I'm gonna buy Dean his lightning lane passes and I'll have to live vicariously through him. But I'm still excited. I'm excited about like seeing friends that live in Orlando and drinking around the world at Epcot probably since I can't do much else. As we close out the episode, we once again want to give a huge thank you to our patrons for their support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us, 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor, the Impulsive Hyper Focus solo episodes, and obviously Duncan Eggtails. Woo! And please do not forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.